Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to WOR 710, the voice of New York, Passage to Profit. And I'm pretty excited about this next presenter. Her name is Carolyn Mcbride. She's worked in the restaurant industry as a publicist for quite a while, and she's written a book loosely based on it, 4 Seasons at Angelino's, and the reviews are fantastic. So welcome, Caroline. Tell us all about it.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. My novel, 4 Seasons at Angelino's, stems upon my career. I was the chief operating officer for Behind the Burner, which was an online culinary startup. And then after that, I spent over a decade as the director of public relations and business development for an international restaurant group that's based in New York City. In addition to that, I've been a publicist for private clients in hospitality as well as the beauty industry. And I decided to take all my adventures and experiences and combine it into an interesting story that hopefully would inform people, but also provide a sense of escapism. So while the book is based on real life experiences, I also added humor and added the whole dating element because it is romantic comedy. And what I did was I wrote about places that I had personally worked in and experienced. So every chapter is named after a different city. You have places like Mumbai, Tokyo, Moscow, London, Paris internationally, and then domestically, of course, New York City, Los Angeles, Newport Beach, California, Greenwich, Connecticut. So it pretty much runs the gamut of the entire country. What I did was I included my love for travel in the story. And with that, I created a travel blog that I put on my website to give more details about the cities that are featured in 4 Seasons at Angelino's. And I hope during this time where so many of us are grounded and cannot travel because of the pandemic, readers will get a glimpse into places that they hope to visit someday, or maybe places that they have already been, because I also included restaurants and points of interest and hotels in each city. So somebody will think, oh, I haven't been to New York in a while, but I remember that High Line or that restaurant. And I hope it will really make people enjoy the story while also learning and traveling vicariously.
Wow. That sounds great, like great escapism for those of us who are stuck inside because of COVID.
I'm definitely going to read it. I read for escapism. This sounds like the perfect book. It's comedy too, so that's even better.
So what made you want to write a book?
Well, I actually was inspired by the late love of my life because I was telling him all my crazy stories about working in this restaurant industry, which is quite chaotic, but also very exciting. When you think about it, we spend some of our best moments in restaurants. It could be a first date, a birthday celebration, or just catching up with a friend. That takes place in restaurants often. And behind the scenes, what many readers don't realize, unless they've worked in the restaurant industry, is that there's so many stories that are going on back in the kitchen or between the servers and the bartender. And there's a lot of romances that also are spawned in that environment. You have an energetic workforce that are often working long hours and commiserating with each other. And as well, you have the interactions between customers and servers. So you might have the guy that always wants to sit at a certain table because he has a crush on the waitress, but he's too shy to tell her. And there really is a business behind restaurants. And again, as a publicist, there's so much that goes into promoting a restaurant and launching a restaurant in a new market. So the book delves into that. How do you take a popular Italian restaurant and make it work in Tokyo? In Tokyo, for example, they like small portions. And in America, as you know, and
it can be the opposite sometimes.
Well, I just have to say here that when Richard and I met on our first blind date, we went to a restaurant with a buffet so we could sit there and talk without interruption. And the waitress was honest like flies on honey. I mean, she would not leave us alone. I'm like, what stories are they saying back in the kitchen? Like,
customer service in the restaurant industry is vital. And so sometimes it's a fine balance of you want to be there to help the customer and be around because you don't want them to have to flag down the waiter or extra help. But to your point, it was a buffet, so maybe she should have backed off a little bit. I thought it was interesting. Earlier, Elsie was talking about how everybody needs a podcast now and a blog. And during my journey with the book, I ended up including a blog on my website. So now I'm thinking, maybe I need to be exploring the podcast situation because I've been doing so many podcasts now as a guest to promote the book. And I know we were also talking earlier about as entrepreneurs often are turning to books and publishing to promote their brands and to promote themselves as experts in a certain field. And that's a big sector now. You have people self-publishing. And when you think about it, even the biggest business leaders that we all know, most of them have books. And then it could be anything from a energy drink to clothing, whatever you're trying to brand yourself as or market yourself or your business. Having a book published gives you more credibility and opens doors with the media. So it's always a fine balance if you go the self-publishing route or if you try to go the traditional publishing route, which is a whole nother interesting conversation. 4 seasons at Angelino's, and it's because the book is based upon, it takes place in 1 year. It's very fast-paced, hence the 4 seasons. It's divided into 4 parts, spring, summer, fall, and winter. And then also Angelino's is the fictitious restaurant group that it's based upon. So you have this publicist traveling around the world, opening these restaurants, one pasta ribbon cutting ceremony at a time.
I think you have a good idea for a pod there in terms of just maybe taking some of the content that's in your book and transitioning that into an audio version of it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Like I said, I was taking notes with Elsie's presentation because I'm really thinking about it. And also I'm in talks with some people out here in LA as far as turning the book into a series because there's just so many stories. So it could lend itself to Netflix, Hulu, or HBO. You never know. So we're working on that angle too.
Good.
That sounds great.
Good.
Yeah, I'd love to have that be a podcast. I mean, I'm going to read the book, but you know, we used to hate these long road trips, but now we listen to podcasts the whole time. So they're kind of fun. You know?
Yeah,
well, we're in the middle of what we call an audio renaissance is what we're calling it in media now, where we are finding in the studies that we learn and are more engaged audibly. And then secondary, it's visual for us. So anything you can do to stimulate the audio part of the brain just takes the experience to a whole nother level.
Really? That's that sounds right. So very good. So what's it like to write a book?
First of all, if it doesn't come naturally, there is an entire market and business out there with ghostwriters or people you can team write with. So don't fear. But if it does come naturally, for me, it does. You know, ever since I wrote my master's thesis in graduate school, which actually was about terrorism, a totally different topic, but I just realized I love this writing process. I've always been a writer. Perhaps it's in my Irish blood. And so as far as becoming a novelist, it was really fun because I can take my own experiences, some of them that were traumatic, some of them that were funny, and twist and turn it to make it into fiction. I mean, this is inspired by reality, but I wanted to protect the innocent, so to speak, and or the not so innocent, and just create something that was fun and engaging. And of course, I'm such a travel enthusiast that writing about these different cities, I fall in love with every city I go to, just about.
Wow.
So to go back when I was in Mumbai, I mean, it's been 3 years, 4 years, but to go back and research and present it in a way that readers who've never been there can feel the magic of the place. It really was great as a creative outlet.
Wow. So it's part travel guide, restaurant, romance, comedy. Got it all. It should go on Netflix. I want to see this. I want to see this on Netflix.
I hope so. I mean, it's great escapism. There's nothing political, religious, it's just fun. Just have
Right.
fun and read it and live vicariously through somebody who makes some really bad choices in her dating life. That learns a lot along the way and gets to see the world through her job and her career. And that's part of the point of the book. She's using her career as a springboard to find Mr. Right. So I wanted to incorporate the fun, romantic side and all these dating calamities.
Yeah, so romances are huge. That's a huge market. So we're coming to the end of this segment, but again, the book is 4 Seasons at Angelino's, and I'm assuming it's on Kindle, Amazon, everywhere.
Yes, it's everywhere. One of the benefits of being with a traditional publisher, you can find it in Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, Target. It's all over the place. And the easiest for most people is Amazon. And yes, the e-version is on Kindle as well.
Great.
And when in doubt, you can go to my website, which is CarolynMcbride.com. And I list several retailers that sell the book as well.